Hey guys, welcome to the Nate Whitson Show. I am your host, and I'm a habits and behavioral change coach for Christian men. That's what I do. I help men create and build better habits and behaviors with the intentional idea that they will become the men that God meant for them to be. That's really what it's about. That's what we're here for. And so if that's you, or if you're in that vein, or if you're maybe the wife of a guy that's you're hoping becomes that or changes and whatever grows into that, whatever that is, I'm glad you're here. So please do me a favor before we jump into the show today and just hit the subscribe button, click that little bell or whatever it is in whichever platform you're listening to this, and just make sure that you have the reminder set because this comes out each Monday, 6 a.m. Eastern time, and we're here just on a weekly basis to help you out. Kind of a quick plug, by the way, if you're new to the show, new to me or this ministry in particular called Get in the Fight, if you go to getinthefight.club, you can learn a lot more there, a lot of free things, different ideas, options, content, courses, all of that. But one of the things in the top, whatever you call that bar at the top of the page, you'll see something that says join the Fight Club or whatever. The Fight Club is a free ministry. It's a weekly ministry that I host and run. It's a private app that I'll send to guys individually when they join. And it's really a way of connecting to Jesus like Monday through Saturday. That's kind of the idea. It's like a really simple, basic platform trying to help Christian men in particular to stay focused and connected to Jesus. We read through the Bible in an entire year together, and we do a live Devo, maybe 10-minute long at 7 a.m. We record it. Anyways, like there's just so much there that's built around this idea of like helping Christian men. That's really the focus of what I'm passionate about, what I'm interested in, and in particular, helping men change. And if you listen to my show long enough, you'll know that most of that is birthed out of my own experiments on myself as God works on me to help me to become the man that I'm supposed to be, that I'm meant to be. And so we're in this together. Today's conversation is like the rest, where I'm really trying to find things that I think are practical and helpful in helping men to change, to create new habits, new behaviors, and to create that life that matters, right? We come back to this often talking about Jesus in John 10:10, that he said that he came that we'd have life abundantly. And so few of us live that, myself included, again, at times. This isn't man, I've made it, become like me. This is we're all in this together. We're trying to become like him. And I know for sure that when I had that wake up call in my life, that it was really this moment of my messaging to me was, you're out of the fight. You need to get back into it. And that's why we call this Get in the Fight. But for so many of us, it's like, man, we're stagnant. We're stuck. We're dealing with secret sins and addictions and troubles. And what it all boils down to is we need to change. We need to grow, but change is hard. And we don't know what to do with that. And so today's conversation is about why starting super small is the key to all of that. And so with that as a backdrop, I just want to kind of, talk about this idea of the power of small and why it might be the thing that leads to the big change that you're looking for. So, one of the big problems that I see in my own life, and I bet you'll recognize this quickly in yours, is that when we start to identify an area of change that we're really serious about, we, for some reason, have been kind of pre-programmed, or we have this, deep-seated belief that if I want to change, I've got to go big. The whole mantra of go big or go home kind of fits within, I think, the psyche of a man. Like we're just like, all right, cool. If I'm in it, I'm going to be in it all the way. Let's go. Let's get this thing done. I don't want this to take longer than it has to. We're very like task oriented, right? We're very like effective in a lot of ways. That's general, of course, but man, that resonates with me. I want to get it done. I see the issue. Let's go deal with it so I can move on to something else. I think that's how we deal with that, right? So we want to change. But the problem with going big is that it rarely lasts, because what happens is we're fighting against human nature. There's this like cycle of like behavior, this pattern that happens in our life that you probably recognize, where, you get motivated. Maybe you listen to today's show actually, and it motivates you, and you're like, you know what, man, I need to change. Maybe I need a habits and behavioral change coach like Nate. Like I've got to do this. Like there's something that needs changed. And so you get motivated, you get fired up. You're like, today's the day. You set a big goal. And then all of a sudden, what happens? 2 days later, 2 weeks later, at some point, right, in a short period of time, something happens and life gets busy. Distractions come, like whatever it is, something happens. There's an obstacle that happens. And eventually we get to this place where men quit. we get disillusioned, we get discouraged. And then guess what happens at the very end of that cycle? What started off as like strong motivation ends in shame. It ends in feeling guilty. Like, I'm ashamed that I can't just change this thing about me, right? I'll give you an example of this for me. Like, eating is an issue for me. So I go through these streaks where I'm like super motivated to get control of my eating. And so I'll set a big goal and I'm like, I'm not going to eat sugar, right? Or I'm going to only eat meat, whatever it is. And then I do it and I'm like really good for a minute, right? Life gets busy. There's a birthday party and it's like, you know what? I knew I was going to do no sugar, but I kind of have to, or I want to, or whatever it is. All of a sudden, though, I'm really a long ways away from that get motivated kind of thing, and things happen, and all of a sudden, I find myself off course. Eventually, I quit that program completely, and then I'm back to the beginning, and I really kind of feel not only ashamed but stuck. Like, doggone it! Like I've tried this so many times. Maybe this just isn't for me. Maybe this isn't something that I can tackle, right? So when you go too big, I'm going to cut out sugar, I'm going to only eat meat or whatever it is, it can lead to problems. That's what I want you to think about today in your own journey. What's the area of change in your life where you've been like super motivated, started really big, had great, grandiose ideas and plans, and then you left at the end of that at some period of time, stuck and disillusioned? I think the big one that a lot of people think about is typically New Year's Eve, right? The New Year's Eve, like, all right, I'm going to get in shape. I'm going to read books. I'm going to, whatever it is, I'm going to fix something in my life. And then by the end of January, everybody's done. Like, that's the one that really stands out. People are like, well, I just don't set resolutions anymore. Well, my thinking for you today is that we still need to figure out how to change. And that's really what this whole thing is about for me, is helping Christian men in particular, and anybody can benefit from what I teach, but helping Christian men in particular to learn how to create habits, how to change behavior. So whether that's, losing weight, quitting pornography or other unwanted sexual behaviors or sins, or, controlling anger, whatever it might be, we want to, I think, just reframe how we approach the task, how we approach change matters. Because in many cases, I know this is true for me, I am not a lazy person. And my guess is, even though I don't know you, it's probably not laziness for most people anyways that's in the way. It's not that you're broken or you're unfixable, although the devil wants to say all of those things to you. But it's really about, most of us just have never really learned the art of habit change or how behaviors work. We don't even know the system. We don't know the process. We don't know how it works. And it's kind of like trying harder is typically where we go, but trying harder doesn't fix having a wrong strategy. Trying harder doesn't fix having the wrong strategy. And so this is where, again, just to kind of pull you back into the idea here, one of the keys here, one of the things I teach is something called the start super small system. And it's this whole thing that's geared towards coaching and serving men to be able to learn how change happens, how behaviors are built, how to build better ones or get rid of bad ones. And it's really designed around this idea of starting super small. There's a powerful thing about small and why it works. So, here's something I think that maybe you don't know. Maybe you do. I don't know. I shouldn't say it that way. Who knows what you know? Here's one thing that I'm learning about change. The brain loves small wins. Small actions are really important to the brain, and it's important to the function of behavior change. It's important to the process of creating better or new behaviors. Smaller actions are important for you because they lower the resistance to get started. I'll give you an example. When you don't feel like exercising, if you could convince yourself that I'm just going to move for 2 minutes, and at the end of the 2 minutes, if I don't want to do it because I just don't feel like it, cool, you still won. Why? Because you made the resistance really small. You said, I'm going to do 2 minutes. Like, I don't feel like doing anything. And at the end of the 2 minutes, if I don't feel like I'm going to be done, that's great. You lowered the resistance, but you did something. There was still movement there, right? It's easier when you start small to keep going. and it's easier to repeat the action over and over. I've only got to do this for 2 minutes. So when you start small, what happens is your brain is like, oh, okay, this feels good. Because again, even in the 2 minute example, if I lifted for 2 minutes, even though there might be a tinge of disappointment of like, man, I needed to work out a half an hour or whatever, and you might go down the negative trail there is still something that you will probably feel like really good about. Like, typically I used to do nothing, but at least this time I did something. And that's what your brain craves. Your brain craves and loves the idea of like, man, that felt good. That's what your brain is looking for in everything you do, whether you know it or not. The brain wants to feel good, conserve energy, and put its attention and energy to harder, difficult tasks. So the powerful thing about wins and why small works better than big is that over time, small wins begin to compound, confidence begins to grow, and eventually, at the end of this chain or this cycle, what happens is you start to change your identity. Like for us in this ministry, we're focused on trying to help Christian men become the men that God meant for them to be. In particular, better husbands, better fathers, better followers of Jesus. Now, when I'm lazy and I'm in a bad routine, I don't have a good system, the devil plays with messaging in between all of that and says, your identity is you're a loser. You're somebody who never finishes. You're a guy who takes the easy route instead of the hard route. You can't work out. You'll never get in shape. Message, message, message. Lie, lie, lie. This is what happens. But what happens in the brain, and again, I want, hopefully this is all coming together and making sense. The point about starting small and doing smaller things rather than big things is that small compounding feeling of, man, I'm winning, because my goal wasn't to work out a half an hour, it was to do at least 2 minutes. Well, most of the time when I start for 2 minutes, I'm like, here we go, I feel fine now. I just needed the momentum. And so that's what you get. You get momentum, your confidence grows, you start to think, you know what, I'm the kind of guy that regularly works out. I don't miss. Now, I might miss if it's an hour long. I might miss if I made the goal so big that, I had to do a CrossFit workout or something when I haven't been used to that. But over time, if you just start small, it ends bigger, it ends different. And it ends with you feeling like I'm starting to become the man that I've always wanted to be. I'm starting to do things that prove to me that I can change and that I can become the man that God had in mind for me. I'm becoming a better husband and father and follower of Jesus. But here's the thing. All of this is true, and the opposite is true as well. If you try to go big, it doesn't compound easily. Your confidence actually doesn't grow. It actually shrinks when you start to go, man, I tried to eat no sugar and I failed 7 days later. And then on day 9, I failed again. And what happens is confidence goes down. Instead of growing by keeping the wins small and the actions small, what happens is you start to believe as an identity that you're a guy that can't finish. You're a guy that can't win. You're a guy that won't be able to get in shape. You're a guy that's doomed to repeat the same mistakes. And so while small wins compound and lead to great things, big changes, when they fall apart, lead to bad things, right? And so this is again, I hope, making the point that small is better than big in many cases, at least when it comes to change and when it comes to habits. Now, there are exceptions, of course. There are many guys who have said, I'm going to start doing something, and then they kind of went cold turkey. They stopped smoking, they stopped porn, they stopped, I don't know, whatever it is. And the next day they were good. What I would tell you is, for those people, they're outliers. For the most part, those are outliers. God does that. What a gift that is. I know, like I'm a certified sexual addiction recovery professional through a group called the Freedom Fight. And so one of the areas of change that I particularly focus on and help men is with pornography. And one of the things that I know about that is that it is something that just takes a different kind of change mechanism. There's just different elements to it that we need to help men through there, right? And so, again, I guess just coming back to this idea here that small is better, big sometimes leads to problems. And I know, like, again, with pornography just being the thing, like, one of the things that we see statistically is that about, I don't know, roughly 5% or less of the men who come into a recovery program, like one that I lead men through, 5% or less kind of have this miraculous thing where God just kind of like takes it away cold turkey. Like that desire for that lifestyle or for that, whatever it is, it just kind of goes away. The rest of us need systems and coaching and help for the most part. Small incremental steps, step by step guides, right? Because as a guy, we're just like, just tell me the answer. Tell me what I do first. Tell me what I do second. Give me the stuff and let me get better. And that's what we try to teach. I think beyond that, one of the other things that I see in scripture is that there's a biblical backing to this idea of small is powerful. Think about this one. We use this verse a lot here, but it's just such a great one. Zechariah 4:10, do not despise these small beginnings, for the Lord rejoices to see the work begin. Many times, again, I think what we have is this faulty idea of big is better. This idea that, man, if you're going to go do it, let's go do it. And there's a part of me that resonates with that. Maybe for you too. Like, I'm a ex-athlete many years ago now at this point. In fact, I just tore my Achilles recently playing pickleball. So I guess a 70-year-old. So anyways, my athletic days are done. But what I love about this is that big isn't always better. God says, I love that you're starting. Don't despise the small start. What a great verse to put into the back of your mind as you start to create change in your life. Don't despise it. Starting small isn't a bad thing. It's a great thing. God celebrates, I think, when you start. It's like we feel like, I don't know, we feel like we've got to be at a different stage for God to be happy with us. But he's so glad that you're in the fight. And again, that was the messaging to me so long ago was, let's get started again. Yep, you got out of it. Let's get started again. It's a small beginning. I started back in just small ways. That might be where you're at too, but don't despise it. It's a big deal. Hey guys, I wanted to take a quick break from the show to share with you 3 things that I think could help you to become more of the man that God meant for you to be: a better husband, a better father, and a better follower of Jesus Christ. 3 things, totally free, that I think can help you. Number 1 is our podcast. Hit the subscribe button, share them with a friend. That makes a big difference, not only in your life, but in somebody else that you care about as well. And it helps us to reach more men. Number 2, we do a free weekly newsletter that is short, it's concise, it deals with just one key question and then 3 simple action items each week that will help you to get in the fight in a really practical way. You can find that at getinthefight.club/newsletter. And then lastly, you can join our Fight Club community. This is a free private app for Christian men only, where you can talk to guys and get involved with guys' lives from all around the world who are just like you, trying to get in the fight to be better men for Christ. You get things like daily devos, weekly challenges, monthly gatherings, small groups, so much more. It's kind of like a Facebook group, but exclusively for Christian men, and it's totally awesome, and it's totally free. getinthefight.club/join and check it out. Get more today. So subscribe to the YouTube channel, get our newsletter, get involved in our Fight Club. Totally free things to help you to get in the fight and win today. All right, that's it for now. Thanks for listening. Back to the show. How about this in Luke chapter 6, verse 10? There's a verse that says this: whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much. See, faithfulness in small things grows into big stewardship. And God's like, hey, if I can learn to trust you with this, which isn't even true wealth, later in the next life, what you do carries over from here to there. And I can maybe trust you with something bigger, something real. And I love that idea. Big stewardship is what it grows into from small beginnings. Be trustworthy in the small things in front of you today. Last one is Matthew 13:31 and 32. You just read about this idea about the mustard seed parable. A small seed, the smallest seed in the kingdom, makes a big impact. It grows. This tiny seed grows and it becomes a tree that the birds nest in. Well, the same is true, minus the birds, when it comes to our habits. This small seed, this super small start that I teach men to work their way through, is what it's about. And when you can start to build momentum, it starts to change and multiply and grow, and momentum starts to work on your behalf, in your favor. So in the real world, here's some things that I think make sense to you? Like in marriage, it's just kind of like make this super practical. In marriage, one small thing that maybe you would say like, well, it doesn't really move the needle, but I think it could move the needle long term for you is just by simply making a small change, like saying, I love you on a daily basis. Well, that's like a small thing, right? Like it takes, I love you 1 second, 2 seconds, right? It takes no time. It takes no time to do that. But what it does is it reconnects you to your wife. And it's just the small seed of a small statement that isn't all that small, is it? Because we often forget to say, I love you or thank you, or, maybe in fatherhood, it's, I'm so proud of you, right? It's a small thing, but what if you did every day? What if it's just a small hug, a kind act, a text with just a funny emoji or whatever it is? It doesn't take a lot. And in your life, it can make a big impact in your marriage and in your fatherhood. How about this one? Like even just 5 minutes of an intentional connection with your kids. Now, the stats are really terrible when it comes to like how much actual time, face to face, one on one, dads get with their kids. And if you're lucky enough to have your kids at home, you might be going, gosh, I don't have an hour to spend with them like they deserve, like they need. And you just beat yourself up because you can't go big. What I would say is, you know what? Small compounding wins as a dad of just 5 minutes here and there is literally so much better than nothing. It's exponentially better than just going, well, since I can't go big, I might as well not do anything. But that's where a lot of us end up at. So what's a small thing you can do, in your fatherhood? And again, think of this too, for so many of you that you have, maybe it's a grandkid, maybe it's your kids have moved out, maybe they're grown and, they're gone and you're just like, man, I've screwed up. It's too late for me. I can't go big. They don't even live with me, right? Well, that's the wrong approach. What small thing can you do on a consistent basis to reconnect with your kids, no matter their age? That's kind of the point. How about like even just like spiritually? I said this at the beginning, and it's really critical to the Get in the Fight ministry, is we want to help Christian men connect with Jesus. That's the answer. That's the point. That's the hope. That's the power. That's the answer, right? Get close to Jesus. That's the answer. And so everything is geared towards that. Even this idea of like creating habit change and behavior change and all of that is geared towards helping them figure out what actions they can take that will lead them in their life to living and acting and getting close to Jesus. Well, spiritually speaking, many men, many Christian men struggle to do things. And again, this idea of going big hampers them big time. It's this idea of like, man, I'm not good at praying. I don't know how to just sit there and just pray like I hear some people praying. So they think I can't pray the big prayer, so I say no prayer. I can't read very well. I hear that one a lot. I don't read great. I'm not good at reading. What, fill in the blank, however you say that, however some people say that. And so what we do is go, because of that, I can't open the Bible, right? Like what a weird transition. What a weird way to think through this. What if instead you thought, man, I want to get close to Jesus. I want to get rid of the excuses. And so I'm just going to read one verse a day. Would that work? Even for the poor reader, do you think you could sit down and just read one verse a day? Maybe just write down one verse a day? Cool. Do that. Like without guilt, do that. Whatever that small thing is, could you say a 1 sentence prayer? What if it was just the same prayer? Like I give guys here a Fight Club prayer. What if you just read it, and prayed through that like a prayer? My point to you, I hope is clear. What's a small thing you can do that gets you on the path? That's the point. Because when you have small wins and you start to go like, I could read one verse, maybe you'll start going, I could probably read two. In fact, maybe I could read three. In fact, anything above the one or the small thing you start with, to me, is just extra credit. But the whole point is that the small seed grows. Quitting pornography. Maybe there's just like one daily replacement that you can do where there's a trigger or a thing that got in the way and you can go, when that happens, I'm just going to step out of my room. I'm going to like go make a check mark on a box of when I feel tempted or whatever it is. Like what small thing can I do to be aware and to move in the right direction to get out of that temptation? Maybe for your health, it's like I can do one push-up. Cool. Do one push-up. You're like, well, that's not going to do anything. Eventually it will. Eventually it will, because there's a parable about a sower who put out a seed that was super tiny, but it grew into a tree, and that was made for our benefit. All of these things, this is the point as we wrap it up here, is like all of these things are to point out the idea that you shouldn't despise the small stuff. The small beginnings compound over time, they build confidence, and eventually you become more of the man that you want to be. We just don't know how to connect those dots very well without conversations like this one. And so we think the only way for me to become the better husband or father or follower of Jesus is to do huge things. I need to go on a mission trip to China. Well, let's just start with reading one verse, right? That's my approach. And I think if you start to take that and you start to apply that and you do that in your spiritual life, and then eventually you take that habit and you build it into your, health and into your relationships with other people, all of that stuff. Slowly but surely, once you start to figure out this idea of like how habits are formed and how behavior works, you can really start using that to your advantage. So as we finish this up here, practically speaking, I just want you to think like, what's one super small habit that you can start today that supports the man that you want to be? What's one super small habit that you can start today that supports the man that you're trying to be? Choose the small action and then put it into motion. Again, there's all kinds of resources and help that I'll walk you through, different podcasts and things to show you more of that process. But for simplicity's sake, I just want you to start with identifying it. What's one small thing? One quick text message a day to your wife. Maybe it's 5 minutes with your kids. Maybe it's reading one verse. Maybe it's one push-up. What is it for you? What's the area of change that you have identified? Like, that's where I need to start. Start there, and then celebrate every time you do it. Right? When you do that super small thing, just simply literally pat yourself on the back. I give myself a high five in the mirror every once in a while for certain habits I work on. I'll do the, Kip from Napoleon Dynamite. I'll do the, kind of thing there that he does. Whatever it is, have fun with it. But celebrate it because it tells your brain that was fun. It tells your brain that was good. And the more that happens, the brain goes, man, I love that small win. That was fun. Let's do that again. Right? So don't despise it. Don't despise the small thing. Figure out what one small habit you can do. Celebrate it every time. And just know, like, God honors that small beginning. Right? Your effort in doing one push-up is not wasted. I promise you. Stay with the one. And when you feel like you can do two, do two. But starting small leads to big changes. Small is not a weak thing. I think small is the smartest and the strongest way that you can grow. Right? And I just wanted to remind you, you're never too far gone to change the big problem in your life today. I dealt with pornography on and off for 20 some years. It just was this thing that kept tripping me up at different times here and there. And I'm like, why does this never go away? It just felt like a big problem that would never go away. And eventually the devil says, man, you're too broke. That thing will never go away. What is that for you? Is it your anger? Is it your marriage? Is it your finances? What is it? Right? I just want you to know, like, when you say that's what it is for me, that I want to tell you the devil's a liar and that you're not too far gone. You're not too broken. It's like saying that God doesn't have the strength to change you. Is that what you're telling him? I mean, ultimately, when you deny this and you say, like, I'm so broken, that's really kind of what you're saying. Like, God can't fix this. God can't do that. He can come off of a cross and he can create the world. He certainly can help you. And again, some of it's just that we haven't learned how the process works that he created. And that's my mission, to help men figure that out. So if you want more information, go to getinthefight.club. There's courses, there's content, tools there, free things, coaching, a fight club. There's all kinds of stuff. If you're a Christian man, or if you know one who's like, man, I want to grow. I'm hungry for more. I'm ready to change. Send them over. Getinthefight.club. Go check it out. See how we can help you. And just remember, like, one small win at a time is a big, big deal, right? That's how you become the man that God meant for you to be. That's how you get in the fight and win today. Thanks for listening. Make sure you subscribe, hit the notification button, and we'll see you soon. Hey guys, thanks so much for being here today and listening to the show. Please be sure to head over to the website at getinthefight.club. And before you go, if you haven't already, please subscribe, click the like button, and leave us a positive 5-star review. It makes a huge difference whenever you do. Have a great day. Go get in the fight.